Welcome back to The Grind. In this video, we're going to go through a few more flights with Equestor, and I realize I may have been a little bit cynical about Equestor. I will talk a little bit more kindly about Equestor in this video, and I have picked some bases that might highlight some of Equestor's strengths, but I still haven't changed my opinion about Equestor being, meta relevant. There are niche situations where you can use Equestor for fun or to add some value to your run, but as a whole, all in all, with the right base setup for what most competitive players use, Equestor is not really going to hold his own. But with lower level towers, if you're not quite hitting at your tier and you're able to one-shot the towers, then it makes the run extremely simple. Whereas with other dragons, yes, those bases will be easy, but not completely one-shot easy. So yes, if you're not hitting really strong bases and you're going to have a somewhat easy flight, or say you struggle with flying dragons and you usually have to hit down a little bit, then like this base, you're going to one-shot a bunch of towers with Equestor and it's going to make your runs so much easier. But if you're learning to fly dragons better and you're hitting bases that are a little bit stronger than one-shot potential, say for Equestor, then you might be doing better off with those other dragons, because Equestor does have some major flaws in the design with the spells and stuff. Now, this spell that Equestor picked up from that mage tower, Reflection, is a really valuable spell for Equestor because you can cast it no matter what. It doesn't matter if the red mage is present. Unless you get super shots from an ice flak, you'll be able to use that spell to reflect howitzer shots and mage drain super shots, which are two of the major weaknesses for Equestor, because Equestor in and of itself doesn't have a way to dodge spells. And you can see 2 quick casts of Thunderbolt and it pretty much wiped that entire Long Island because those towers were weak enough to be one-shot by the spell. Now, clearing farms and mills is the same story. If they are strong, then it'll take a couple shots, and if there's a defender, they can heal them up, which will make it a lot harder because Equestor's regular breath attacks from swiping, they don't really do a lot of damage, and the only way Equestor does damage is using Thunderbolt. Now, this base is a short base with level 90 towers, but notice that the defense power is only 3 billion, which is very low for having level 90 towers. This means that the gear on the base is not very strong. So when we rank a base, you want to consider first off the level of the towers, because yes, level 90 towers with a low defense power is going to be stronger than level 75 or 80 towers with a high defense power. But you'll notice that I can still two-shot these towers quite easily, even though they're level 90, because the gear isn't as good. And so because of that, I was able to get through those towers, and if the towers were destroyed before getting a shot off or getting a second shot off, that really makes it a lot easier if you can cast it quick enough. And then I was able to use that blue spell to avoid some damage from the dark flak. If you rewind it and take a closer look, you'll notice that the Thunderbolt bounced to monuments and reduced the damage that the towers took from those spells. And that's a major flaw of Thunderbolt or lightning spells to begin with. And that is Equestor's primary source of damage, is a randomly bouncing lightning bolt. So that is a weakness. Now, this base is a fairly decent base for the level of the towers, and it actually is one that I was using to test defended runs with some other dragons, if you notice from like the Luzak videos and stuff, or the Sepula and Calivor, but you can see it takes 3 Thunderbolts to get through those towers, and because it bounced through monuments in the perch, it didn't bounce to the mages. So then I was mage drained and left without any firepower. I couldn't get through those towers with the regular breath attacks, unfortunately, but with a little more luck, or say placing your first Thunderbolt on the right side monument and then attacking the bottom right tower, you might have more luck. I still was able to get over 70% on this base, which is not terrible for this dragon in my opinion, but it isn't what I would hold as good in the regular standards I have for dragons at this stage of the game. Now, this is a fairly strong base as well. 7.5 billion defense power with level 91 to 93 towers. So this is what I would consider a good base. If I could take out this base with defenders, with a dragon, I would say this is a solid dragon. Now, some dragons just don't have that kind of potential to hit up, but they're very solid, a little bit lower. I find it more exciting when I can, push the boundaries and push to higher bases and destroy them. But not all dragons have that potential. And Equestor actually surprises me a little bit on this run. It's kind of like a nuke dragon, do what you can as fast as you can, but there's not a lot of potential to protect yourself. So basically destroyed that whole island. And if you notice, there's no blue mage on that island. So if you bring in a cloak, or more ideally an invincible shield, then you'll be able to survive that island and destroy all the towers without much trouble. Now, this is a long island with over 6 build defense and several level 80 plus towers and some lower ones. Now, you'll see this base would be much easier to clear if you bring in an equip like Invincible Shield or Reflection even, but you can see this base could be wiped out completely pretty much with 3 rounds of that Thunderbolt. It just cleared the whole thing, but I died because I had no way to avoid the incoming damage. Now, the howitzer was a major source of damage, so the reflection spell would be enough to mitigate that damage, or an invincible shield as well, since there was no blue mage on the front part of that island. Now, this is a level 98 towers with some 97s with over 9 billion defense, so this is definitely hitting above tier. And even without defenders, if you could clear this base, that would be good for a lineage dragon. And it has no blue mage, so we can bring in this invincible shield and dodge the damage while dealing those thunderbolts to get rid of those towers. I did use that blue one rage defensive spell to decrease the damage taken from that fire flak a little bit, but then we come around the corner, and because of that howitzer, unfortunately, we died. But I do want to point out, you can target the back towers or that monument on the left to bounce towers to the back part of the island, which then would have most likely hit the farms and mills and got me over 70% to get that win on the base if you're trying to just steal resources. Now, I was going to finish this off with a little bit easier run, level 77 towers, 6 billion defense base. This is not a challenging base when I test it with other dragons at my tier, or even a tier below me. So it is a very easy to clear one. But what's interesting is I ran out of rage. But you can see, even if you get rage drained, you can use that invincibility shield to help avoid some damage while you get back more thunderbolt spells to finish clearing the base. The main weakness for Equestor is he has no way to dodge damage or mage drains. So if you bring in a reflection spell or invincible shield, then it can help a lot. So there are some uses. Maybe you have fun flying him, and that is important for sure. You want to be able to enjoy the game, and if the bases you're attacking you're able to clear with Equestor, that's awesome. And like I said, the easier bases he'll clear much easier than other dragons will, and so he does add some value, especially for things if you leave him at a lower tier to help with assault or to help with temple raid and things like that. He does add some value in certain situations, and he actually has surprised me a little bit as far as his solo potential against undefended bases, at least as an opener or follower dragon, whether or not you can solo the base. So it really depends what you're looking for. There definitely is an importance to the nostalgia feel for some players, and I think that for that as a reason, you are actually getting a fairly decent dragon in return as well. It is an expensive dragon. It is the same cost as other lines. I do think the other legendary dragons for this season are overall better for more competitive players, but he is fairly decent and does have some situations that he does excel at and does make easier. Especially for like invader based runs, you can probably just let the dragon summon do the work. And for PvE, you can probably also do the same thing, especially with word that they will be releasing the auto battle feature to more players. This dragon will be a great one for auto battle, especially if you intermittently use a thunderbolt spell to clear entire islands. That being said, Krelos is another great one for that if you were able to get him. So I hope this was helpful. I hope some people appreciate the repeat video to show a little bit more of the positive sides of Equestor. I do apologize for my initial video that did lack a little bit of the benefits of Equestor. I'm glad I was able to make this video to show some of the positives, and hopefully it makes some people feel better about having already claimed or about planning to claim Equestor. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.